that you would not be held back by death or rejection or the ways of man, but you shone your glory on the third day when you were raised from the dead, and you broke the bonds, you broke the chains, you set us free. So truly, we can honestly and fervently declare today, praise to the Father, praise to the Son, and praise to the Spirit. We love you, Lord. This is a great day that we celebrate. May your Spirit move in this place. Grab hold of us. Bring transformation. Bring life, that we will be salt and light in the world. In Jesus' name. Amen. Amen. Good morning, church. I love it when you say it back. You've got permission to say it back nice and loudly next time when I say that. So it's so good to share the very first Easter Sunday morning together, which is wonderful. Thank you to the worship team. I don't know, you guys probably know, you don't need me to tell you how blessed you are with the worship team you've got. Do you feel that? Yeah. You think that? You are really blessed. We are blessed as a church with the team. In 1991, at the heart of the Desert Storm, an American woman named Ruth received a dreadful message, one that one mother would never want to receive, that her son had stepped on a mine in Kuwait and was dead. And she journaled about this later, and she wrote, "I cannot begin to describe my grief and my shock. It was almost more than I could bear. For 3 days I wept. For 3 days I expressed anger and loss. For 3 days people tried to comfort me to no avail. The loss was just too great." But then she received a message. The phone rang. And to her shock, the voice on the other side was her son's. "Hi, Mum, how you doing? I'm alive." She went, "What?" She couldn't believe it, she said. "I recognized his voice straight away. It was my son, and he was really alive." And she found out later that there was an awful communications error, and the wrong person had been told that her son had died. She wrote afterwards, "I laughed, I cried, I felt like turning cartwheels because my son, whom I thought was dead, was really alive. I'm sure none of you can even begin to understand how that felt at that moment." Maybe so. But you know, there are people in the pages of the New Testament who completely understood what it was like to feel that, right? When they approach their Saviour, one day they're watching their best friend, their teacher, nailed to a cross, and they witness his pain as he cries out, my God, why have you forsaken me?" And they listened as he finally bowed his head and he said, "It is finished." They watched as his body was taken and buried. All their hopes, dreams buried with him. Friday and all day Saturday they mourned until finally, it says on the first day of the week, early in the morning, Scripture says some women made their way along the path to the tomb, wondering who would roll the stone away for them. But when they arrived, they found that the stone had already been rolled away, and an angel was there and told them, "You're looking in the wrong place. You're looking for Jesus among the dead. He's not among the dead anymore. He is alive. He is risen." Even as he said. He's risen. That's what we celebrate today. He's risen from the dead. What difference does his resurrection make to us this morning? The Apostle Paul was an eyewitness who saw and spoke with Jesus, Apostle Peter, after he was brought back to life. And he writes this in 1 Peter chapter 1. I'll read from the Message version, verse 3. What a God we have, and how fortunate we are to have him, the Father of our Master Jesus. Listen to what he says. Because Jesus was raised from the dead, we've been given a brand new life and have everything to live for, including a future in heaven, and that future starts now. God is keeping careful watch over us and the future. The day is coming when you'll have it all: life, healed and whole. What a great translation. You know, because of Easter 2,000 years ago, you and I have been given a brand new life. And we have everything to live for. Very simply, you have hope. Now let me explore this sense of hope by recalling something that actually happened when Jesus was on the cross, just before he dies. I'm going to read from Luke chapter 23, verse 32. It says, 2 other men, both criminals, were also led out with him to be executed. And when they came to the place called the Skull, they crucified him there, along with all the criminals, one on his right and the other on his left. Can you try and imagine yourself in the position of those criminals? You're hanging nailed to a cross about 5 meters high. There's a small crowd gathered a short distance away, and they're watching your final moments, and you're there stripped of everything, stripped of all your security, stripped of all you've ever known, stripped of any sense of ambition, of any future. And at first, one of the criminals feels nothing but anger and probably hatred towards Jesus. It says, verse 39, aren't you the Christ? Save yourself and us. Like how he threw the us in there. I guess that's understandable when you think of the circumstances. I mean, think about it. You're ashamed, you're in a whole lot of pain, and next to you is someone that's crucified who is claiming to be the king, or people are saying is the king. And he spoke about love and about truth and about honesty. And so he sarcastically yells out, aren't you the Christ? Well, save us then. And meanwhile, something remarkable is happening to the other guy that was on his other side. Verse 40, but the other criminal rebuked him. Don't you fear God, since you are under the same sentence? We are punished justly, for we are getting what our deeds deserve. But this man, he's done nothing wrong. It's interesting, for that man, the emptiness and the tragedy of his own circumstances must have just caused him to take a look at his own life. This man was going to die. He thought that he deserved it. But in the faint hope that the Jesus on the cross next to him is actually who he says he is, he wants to pull a few strings for the afterlife, get a second chance, and he looks to Jesus and he says, Jesus, remember me when you come into your kingdom. Now, I suppose Jesus had every right to refuse this man. I mean, after all, he was guilty. He'd lived a life of crime. He'd lived a life of dishonesty and selfishness. And right in the last few moments of his life, he's got regret. And he asks to be saved. And if Jesus had responded with a flat no, I guess no one would have blamed him. However, if this story shows us anything, it shows us resurrection hope. Verse 43, Jesus answered him, I tell you the truth, today you will be with me in paradise. Wow, hope lives. Jesus' acceptance was instant. His grace was no strings attached. There was no intelligence test, no dress regulations, no age limit. There were no making up for past repayments, no mention of past sins, no steps to have to do in a church before you get to paradise. You know, this is what makes Jesus so unique. He didn't offer a bunch of rules. He didn't offer a whole lot of steps on how to get on God's side. All through his life, he personally and completely forgave the guilty. And for anyone who's ever experienced an encounter with Jesus, an encounter of disappointment, you know, this story reveals the true meaning of Easter. For right there when he deserved nothing, the authoritative stamp of God comes. And this man gets to experience the hope that will be resurrection. Look at how the Apostle Paul explains this in Romans 6. He says, what we believe is this: if we get included in Christ's sin-conquering death, then we also get included in his life-saving resurrection. We know that when Jesus was raised from the dead, it was the signal of the end of death as the end. Never again will death have the last word. When Jesus died, he took sin down with him, but alive, he brings God down to us. Don't you like that? Have you seen in the news recently about that massive container ship that blocked the Suez Canal? Did you see the photos of that or on the news? I'll show a photo. You can see the first slide photo there. It caused a massive traffic jam. It's one of the world's busiest trade routes. The ship was called the Ever Given, 400 metres long ship. And it's estimated that the ship which obstructed the trade route was causing $12 billion a day. Hold up. I'll have to confess, I have a personal interest in this story. On one of those ships, banked up, is our furniture that we've ordered for our new house. And I got phoned up yesterday and said, Mr. Roggero, just letting you know, courtesy call, we're not expecting delivery until at least the end of May. Fantastic kitchen chairs continue to rule in the lounge room. Anyway, the vessel got trapped. It couldn't remove itself. And you'll see the next photo that it did actually get freed a week later, and it was helped by matching the peak of a high tide with a flotilla of 10 tugboats who had managed to wrench the huge bow of the ship from the canal's sandy bank. Dredgers had vacuumed sand and water underneath, and the tugs had pulled, and the ship got unblocked from the canal. Is there anything that's blocked your walk with Christ? Is there anything that's caused you to get stuck? Is there anything that's caused you to run aground? And maybe you never set out to, and maybe you never meant to, but if you were really to honestly look at yourself in the mirror, you might say, actually, things are not where they ought to be. Well, Easter, today, is God's announcement to you that the same power that moved the stone from the tomb, that same power is available to you. And it's more powerful than 1,000 tugboats. See, resurrection hope is here, and it's amazing. Now here's a couple things that this hope speaks to us. First of all, we've got hope of an eternal future. Unfortunately, we all have to die sometime on this earth. It was actor and director Woody Allen that said, it's not that I have a problem with death, I just don't want to be there when it happens. But we all have to be there. There's going to come a day. But death is what the thief on the cross, what one was angry about and the other saw hope in. And the message of Easter is death is no longer final, as we saw in that scripture. God has the power to offer you salvation and life for eternity. And friend, if you've never done this, I want to invite you. As simple as that thief on the cross saying, will you remember me today, Jesus? You can say, Jesus, would you receive me? And in that instant, your acknowledgement of your need for Jesus transforms into a new life. If you've never done that, do you need to secure the fact that you have an eternity to think about and live for? By the way, eternity is pretty long time. Right, just if you didn't know. And it's, you know, trillions, gazillions of years, like trillions of trillions of trillions of years. It's a fairly long time. So it's pretty worth journeying about it. Christ's resurrection also brings the hope of new life, new beginnings. Now, the thief on the cross, I mean, the one that saw Jesus in paradise, can you imagine him reflecting or journaling after day one? Hi, 24 hours ago, I was on the cross being executed and I was about to die. Now, singing with Jesus in heaven, you know. Can you just imagine his story? What an amazing truth that Jesus brings. Now, you might have come this morning and you think things are at the end of a road. Maybe you think things are really stuck. You might feel like that saying from Murphy's that says the light at the end of the tunnel is actually the headlamp of the oncoming train. Or maybe you feel disappointment. Maybe something's caused the road blockage for you. Maybe things didn't work out the way you want. Maybe life just hasn't delivered. A number of years ago, Alanis Morissette wrote a song, and there's some interesting words. It was a song that was about, isn't it ironic? And here's a couple of the words from there. She says, an old man turns 98. He wins the lottery, but dies the next day. You're on death row and you get pardoned 2 minutes too late. Isn't it ironic, don't you think? It's like rain on your wedding day, or a traffic jam when you're already running late. It's like 10,000 spoons in your drawer when what you want is a knife. It's meeting the man of my dreams and then meeting his beautiful wife. Isn't it ironic, don't you think? A little too ironic, yeah, I really do think. Alanis Morissette wrote a song there that's about disappointment. Things just not working out. Now, this disappointment might involve a few things. It might involve the death of a dream. Have you ever had a dream die? Maybe it was a relationship. Or maybe it was a career path. Or maybe it was some study you were doing and it didn't work out. Maybe it was a financial thing, promised and then didn't happen. Friends, what Easter is about is God being in the business of giving you a new life, a new start, a new hope. See, this hope is possible because the same power that conquered death, one of the biggest things in life is death, don't you think? I mean, that's one thing we just can't get past. He conquers death and opens up a whole new chapter for everybody. Friend, if you need to hear that resurrection hope this morning, it ain't over. It just is not over for you. It's another chapter just being written if you put your hope in Christ. I want you to look at this testimony, a guy called Travis Freeman, and I want you to see that even in blindness, he found hope. Let's have a look at this on the screen. What is that? We all have that hope. Did you hear what he said at the end? And you know, friends, this is resurrection hope. That God can take any obstacle and he can turn it into an opportunity. And that's what he did for Travis, and that's what he can do for you as well this morning. There's another hope that resurrection hope brings, and it's the hope of inner peace. The disciples, hearing the rumours that something strange had happened at the tomb, raced to where Jesus had been buried, and in mid-stride they run smack back into their resurrected leader, which nearly resulted in a heart attack for half of them. And in fact, it says that they were terrified. That would capture the feeling. Now, one of the New Testament accounts records that the disciples fell back. They stumbled over each other. And in the middle of all this chaos, pre-dawn, Jesus says to his followers these very simple 2 words: fear not. Don't be scared. And I don't have to spend too much time convincing you how destructive and how immobilizing fear can be, and how often unprepared we are for it. Have you ever noticed a suspicious symptom, like in your body, or a pain in your chest, or a lump forms and you're seized by an inner panic? Or maybe you've fallen asleep on the couch waiting for your teenager to get home, and you fell asleep and you wake up and it's an hour past when they were meant to be home, and all of a sudden you start being immobilized by all the things that could have happened that are bad. Or maybe you've gone to work, your boss sits you down and says, we're downsizing. And you just get this fear. You see, fear affects us physiologically, it affects us psychologically, but the worst effect that fear has is that it paralyzes us. Fear can cause us to do nothing, want to do nothing, run away, hide. Fear is an overpowering emotion, and it's not something we would willingly feel. And yet Jesus comes to the disciples after he was resurrected and he says, don't be afraid, fear not. As if it was a simple matter of choice. Well, do you know what? It is a choice. There is a choice that we can make about whether we are going to... I'm not saying the emotions that cause fear. I'm not saying the thought process that cause fear. But it's almost like Jesus is saying, don't think fearfully. Don't act fearfully. And you know, often because of personal crisis, people can actually put their lives on hold, or they put ministry on hold, or they put the adventure they wanted to start on hold because of fear. And Resurrection Hope says to you this morning, don't be fearful. Don't put it off. Jesus is saying, in effect, you know, I have the power of life and death. I have the power over any challenge you can face. There's no act of war that can separate you from my love. There is no health problem that can separate you from my presence. There is no divorce, no failed business, no sin that can separate you from my mercy. And I think about that thief on the cross. And I think they have those final moments after Jesus had said to him, today I will see you in paradise. And I think of the inner peace he must have felt with that hope of what Jesus the King had told him. See, if Jesus can conquer death, he can conquer anything. And that is resurrection hope, my friends, that we have this hope of a secure future. We have this hope of new beginnings in the life we have today, and we have hope of an inner peace. As I close, let me ask you, do you need resurrection hope afresh this morning? You know, it's yours. If the thief could just say, will you remember me? All you have to do is desire it and reach out to Jesus. And we see from that story that it doesn't take much for God to respond. A simple prayer, a simple bunch of words. It starts with a simple recognition. God, I believe. Jesus, I need your help. It's just saying a simple yes in your heart. Do you know what? I think God can even translate it if all you say is, yes, Lord. And he knows what you're saying yes, Lord, about. As you walk away today, I hope that your heart can be full, that your thought life can be clear, on what the hope of the resurrection enables. Would you join me in prayer? You know, a number of years ago, it was on an Easter Sunday morning that I said, "Yes, Lord Jesus." I just knew that I needed him. And I knew that my life was going in a whole different direction. And I don't want to presume that there isn't one person here today who's not been walking with God, and you would love to have that personal relationship with Jesus. And so I just want to invite you this morning, if you feel that God's calling out to you and that you want to have a personal relationship with him, then the fact that you'd want to say this tells me that you know that you need it. I would just ask you to say this right now, just a moment. Say, "Dear Jesus, I need you. Forgive me. Come meet me." Can I just ask everyone to bow their heads and just take a moment? And if that's you, would you say that to Jesus right now? Jesus, I need you. Forgive me for living life my own way. I receive you. And Father, for anyone that might have just said that sincerely from their own heart, I pray that right now you would come and let them know that you are real and bring your presence, the resurrected Christ by the Spirit of God. For all of us, Lord, who are here today, we ask that you would help us to walk away from this Easter Sunday morning being mindful of resurrection hope. For anyone that has the need to have the hope of a new beginning, the hope of a new start, the hope of change, Lord, I pray they would just believe that in their hearts right now. And for anyone that's been struck by fear or failure, immobilized, maybe even taken time out with God, would you come and move in their hearts right now and restore that inner peace, the peace of God that you made possible through the cross and the resurrection. Father, we thank you for your amazing love. What a great day it is today to know that death could not hold you down and death does not hold us down. I ask that in Jesus' name. And God's people say, Amen. Amen. Let's stand and worship.